And Greg, I'll start with you. Look, this was rumored and whispered for quite some time. Having said that, you don't know who's waiting in the wings. Why make this decision now?
Well, I think it was getting to the point where they just couldn't go on any longer because there had been so many opportunities that had been afforded Clay Helton, and it felt as though he was already in a lame duck situation. It felt like we knew where this was eventually going to go. Why don't we just cut to the chase? And that way they spared themselves the possibility of Clay Helton getting things back on track, going, say, 10-2, 9-3, and restoring the goodwill of what might not be best for the long-term health of the program. So I think it was the right decision at this moment. It's good for Clay Helton. He can jumpstart what he wants to do next. And I think it's good for USC to have clarity as to the direction they want to head, Joey.
I don't know that this provides clarity. This is the same conversation we've been having about Clay Helton for the past couple years. And every offseason, we go to a place where will Clay Helton be the coach? And Greg, and I know that you paid attention to it. Everybody that's paid attention to college football has been waiting on this day. So why does it happen in the middle of a season? I don't know who this helps because Clay Helton can't do anything at this time. And now the players on this team have to make an adjustment to a new coach in the middle of a season. I don't like this move when it happened. I understand the move of replacing Clay Helton, just not the timing of the move in the middle of a season.
And I think that's fair, Joey, and it begs the question, what is next? And Greg, there's the list of candidates, a lot of names that we see pop up time and time again, but I don't know if you necessarily say who works in this. What works? What will work in this situation for USC?
Yeah, and the candidates are obvious. It's always the same group, right? Fickle, Campbell, Stoops, Peterson, you name it. I would actually go a little bit off the grid, and I would aim, being the fact that I am a top 5 job in college football, I would aim for guys that most other programs wouldn't even get a returned call from. I'm going to go with Brian Kelly would be my first phone call at Notre Dame. Look, Brian Kelly this weekend could tie Knute Rockne as the winningest coach in the history of Notre Dame football. That's remarkable when you think of what he's accomplished there in South Bend, but one thing they haven't been able to do is get over the hump. Does that mean he can get over the hump at Notre Dame? Potentially. Does it mean he could get over the hump potentially at USC? Yes. But I think we all would agree, Joey, and I'd love to get your take on this. I actually think that it's easier to get over the hump at USC than it is at Notre Dame because there are less stringent academic requirements for admissions for some of your players. So I think USC, if I'm them, I'm shooting for the stars, and the first star I'd call would be Brian Kelly.
Well, Greg, you must have ran out of boxes because why not add Urban Meyer to that list? Which, if we're just going to start throwing names at this thing, throw them all in there. Brian Kelly is one. You surprised me with that one. I don't know that it's easier to get over the hump at USC right now. I think that program has fallen to a place that is not right on the cusp of being in that next elite level. Now, they've been elite from a standpoint of their skill position athletes. Especially on the offensive side of the ball, they've had some terrific wide receivers. But it doesn't seem as if from a big guy standpoint, offensive line, defensive line, that front seven on the defensive side, they don't seem to be at that same level. Brian Kelly's had terrific success at Notre Dame. And I see what you're saying as far as the long term. Can he get over the hump at a USC? I don't know that USC still carries the same respect across the country as it carried at one point in time, Greg. When we were younger, USC was a name that carried a lot of respect. I don't know if it's there anymore.
Yeah, and you referenced Urban Meyer. My question, though, with NIL, with transfer portal, with the challenges of trying to get your roster ready to go, the NFL lifestyle, and talk to anybody in the coaching profession, Joey, the NFL lifestyle is not one that a lot of guys are going to walk away from in an effort to get back to college. Now, Urban Meyer might be the rare example, and sure, I'd absolutely reach out to his representation, but I think it's very unlikely knowing that he's only in year number 1 in Jacksonville, and he has a pretty cush gig with really the relationship that he has with the owner, Shad Khan, there in Jacksonville.
Well, let's go back to Joey's point that perhaps USC doesn't have the same cachet. It certainly did at one point. We know that, including vacated games. The Trojans won at least 10 in 7 consecutive seasons under a guy named Pete Carroll. Speaking of the NFL lifestyle, they've done that just 4 times in the 11 full seasons following his departure. USC also has only 1 Rose Bowl appearance during that span.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.